All right, that brings us to our discussion agenda, which item number 15, proposed revisions to board policy IC school year, shown in Exhibit C.
Thank you, Mr. Gant. If I could draw your attention to Exhibit C to discuss School Board Policy IC School Year. This recommendation that we're bringing forward to you is based upon South Carolina School Boards Association recommended changes based upon some law changes that have taken place in the recent past. If we look at Policy IC, principals have had a chance to review this and also offer us feedback. And this is inclusive of some of the suggestions that principals had given to us. On Policy IC, you'll notice the print that's in blue are the changes that we're making to the policy. The print that's in black is policy that's already in place, so our recommended changes are in blue. So if I can draw your attention under makeup days to the second paragraph from the bottom, one of the blue paragraphs. After the district has made up 3 days or the appropriate number of missed hours of one of the options listed above, the board may waive up to 3 days by a majority vote of the board. This is a change that's made within state law a few years ago, and it's a change that we wanted to make sure we brought to policy as well. That would be after the 3 made-up days that we put into our calendar are made up, then the board would have the option to excuse 3 additional days if they so choose by a majority vote. And this, again, is based upon state law. In conjunction to that, I did want to mention one thing about a pilot program that's taken place throughout the state. We've received some questions about having online learning during makeup days because there's other districts that are piloting a program through the South Carolina Education Oversight Committee. There's 5 school districts across our state which are in that pilot program. And what they're doing is on days that there's inclement weather, they have assignments that teachers give to students and they complete those assignments within a designated period of time. That's a pilot program, again, that's taken place across the state with 5 districts. We are not a part of that pilot program at this moment, but that's something that may come up in the future. And I know we've received a lot of questions about that, so I want to make sure that we address that. We cannot do that option at this moment, but it may be an option in the future. But at least for this school year, that's not an option for us, is that online learning option. So really, those are the changes that I wanted to bring to your attention, but I also wanted to make sure that this is a collaborative effort amongst different departments, so I did want to bring in Ms. Goggins, as she will give us some information about how the school calendar came into play and how we have makeup days within that school calendar. Ms. Goggins.
Thank you, Mr. Giuliano. Just to add context, we will share a little bit of the process for creating school calendars and for planning for makeup days. Prior to the start of each school year, the district creates a school year calendar which includes at least 3 potential makeup days for severe weather. For the 2018-19 calendar, potential makeup days included October 8th, November 6th, February 18th, March 29th, and April 22nd. The November 6th date is no longer permitted as a makeup day due to state guidelines closing schools on Election Day. To date, the district has been closed 5 days due to inclement weather. The decision to close schools September 11th through September 14th was made under order of the governor of South Carolina, prepared for the impacts of Hurricane Florence. School District 5 was also closed on October 11th due to inclement weather caused by Hurricane Michael. And you'll remember earlier this month, the district announced 3 makeup days. We've already made up one, October 8th. There's also March 29th and April 22nd. With regard to makeup days, the district always consults with principal, staff, and district leaders to ensure our decisions will provide the best possible way to make up lost instructional time with the least negative impact on our families. And these messages are shared about closures and makeup days using our automated telephone system, the district website, the district social media sites, and local media outlets. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Cates.
The way you phrased it was actually clearer to me than the way it's written. The second line of the first blue paragraph can we say the board may waive up to 3 additional days? That just makes that clear, and that's what you said. It's
Sure.
just not the way it got written.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
I had
Sorry.
just a
Ms.
question.
Hammond.
I don't know that anybody has ever done this, but I realized this when I read it. One of the options that you actually could operate schools on Saturday. Do many districts do that?
I don't have a specific count of how many districts do it. I have heard of districts
Have.
that have done some of that. That's not typically an option
No,
that.
I would think it would not be happy with, with anybody. But, I was just, didn't realize it was even in here. That with the Department of Education, that was something we could look at.
That is an option, yes.
Not that I want to do it, okay?
Are you going on the record as wanting to?
Can
or
I
not?
go on the record that I do not want to make up one of these, and if it snows and we have to make up some more days, I don't want to go on Saturday. But I didn't know I didn't even know that was in there.
Back when Mr. Haltermong and I were in school, Mr. Haltermong,
Y'all went
it's
on
true,
Saturday.
we went on Saturdays to make up snow days. I don't remember ever
Did you
missing
really?
an inclement hurricane type day. Saturday, oh, yeah.
All day, man.
It was something. It was amazing.
It was.
In the
You
snow
wouldn't
and I,
want- You wouldn't have wanted to have lived then.
it was tough.
Was that back in the days when you had to walk uphill both ways?
Yeah, we walked in the snow to make up the day. It was amazing.
Backwards, too.
Any other, I know we're through part of this, any other inputs, Mr. Giuliani, that you want to give us on this? Or?
I'm welcome to field any other questions that anybody may have.
No, yeah, let's move on.
Any other questions, comments from anyone?
No, no questions.
Ready for it.
This is a discussion item, so we're early in the process. Okay? So that takes us to item number 16, which is proposed revisions to Board Policy IHBA, Special Education Programs for Disabled Students, and new policy IHBAE, Delegation of the Rights to Make Educational Decisions, shown in Exhibit D.
Thank you, Mr. Gant. IHBA, if you would look at me with Exhibit D, the changes that we're making here, again, were recommended changes by the South Carolina School Board Association, and they're listed in blue on the recommended policy, the drafted policy. Dr. Slatton, who was here before tonight, was instrumental in helping us make sure that we reviewed these. And a lot of what you see in blue is already in practice in School District 5 because Dr. Slatton is so proactive, and as she hears and goes to these meetings throughout the state, she brings back information of what she knows is coming. So a lot of the stuff that you see written here is already in practice, but we want to make sure it's in policy now that this has been a recommendation from our School Board Association. So if we look at educational rights for adult students, there's options for students once they reach the age of 18 to make sure that they're entitled to make their own educational decisions, or they can turn it over to somebody else. And the bullets that you see below are the other options that a student, once they turn 18, can consider. So the first one that you'll notice is that they can turn over their educational rights with the support and assistance of an adult of his or her choice. So within IEP meetings, they can have that adult of their choice fill in for them and make those educational decisions once they turn the age of 18. The second bullet, they may select an agent approved by the South Carolina Department of Education that would act on their behalf. The third bullet, a representative may be appointed, and that option is more for students that may be incapable of communicating on their own behalf. The fourth bullet is a guardian may be appointed and assigned the student's educational and other rights by a South Carolina probate court. If we turn the page, there's one last paragraph. And the last paragraph just talks about how the principal was required to notify a student if a medical professional has certified that the student is incapable of communicating to act on their own behalf. Attached to this policy is the exhibit that you see next, IHBA exhibit, And in that exhibit, this is a form that the student, once they turn 18, would complete and submit that would designate who they wish to be that person that would speak on their behalf at IEP meetings and on their educational rights. So this form would be completed by the student, or if they're incapable of completing it, that would be by the designee. So this policy, again, is something that we are currently in practice, but we want to make sure that with the recommendations from the South Carolina School Board Association that we brought to policy as well. So with that, Mr. Gann, I'll open it to any questions that the board members may have.
Ms. Hammond?
I have a quick one. Which professionals decide if they're self-contained or which can come out and be mainstreamed? Is that a parent decision or?
Typically, that's an IEP team decision, and a parent or the representative, the guardian,
Can-
is on the
okay.
IEP team.
Okay.
And they would make that decision about mainstream based upon how many minutes they may be in the classroom.
And are they counted in our scores if they are mainstream? They take the test? You know, just like, like say if it's South Carolina Pass, South Carolina Ready.
So their IEP would determine which assessment they're
And some may
given,
have to
whether it's
take
an alternate assessment or the regular SC Ready assessment,
So there's
SC
really,
Pass.
really no changes in that? Because, I mean,
That's correct.
that's something that's really, I mean, I know there's a lot of legality issues in this, but just for teachers' sake, that's always a question of whether or not, how accountable the teacher is for that student with the disability.
Any other question, concern? Seeing none, I remind you that we have an exhibit, Exhibit E, that you probably need to take a look at. Our next school board meeting will be on November 12th at Oak Point Elementary. I will entertain a motion for number 17 to
May
adjourn.
may I have a big extended point of privilege before we go to the?
Certainly.
I just want to state and to be clear that how much I appreciate Mrs. Goggins and her staff. I don't want there to be any doubt of their exceptional response to any and all FOIA requests, regardless of the number of times. And that has kind of stuck with me for the last few minutes. And I want to say I appreciate what you're doing. And my observation is we are handling those in accordance not to just our policy, but the policy that is dictated by the state. And I wanted to clear the record for that.
Thank you, Mr. Cates. I think you just echoed the sentiments of this entire board. We do thank you for your efforts. Thank you, Mr. Cates. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Baumgartner,
I move that we adjourn.
and a second. Ms. Hammond seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand, and that is unanimous. Thank you all for being here.